Sam.
Hey Matt,
Hey,
how you doing?
good, good. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
No worries, me too. I got a early morning, not that early, 8 o'clock. A client had called me and we were talking story, and I was still kind of doing a few things this morning before I was ready to get started with you. So that worked out.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you got some work done, perhaps.
Oh yeah, I mean bread and butter is communicating with clients. So I'm always happy to receive a call after anytime after 8 a.m. or earlier if it's an emergency, right?
Some things can't be constrained to the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, usually they can. It's
Yeah.
totally fine. She was apologetic. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for calling you so early in the morning." I said, "No, no, please." I woke up early, super early this morning anyway. I went to bed just in the, late afternoon. So I was ready for that call, but
Well,
it
geez,
took up some of my time.
what time do you sleep?
Oh my goodness. I was
Early
trying to go
afternoon.
no, the late afternoon. I was trying to get to a 6:30 meeting, and I had done everything to get there except put on my clothes. I had to wear a certain specific shirt to this event, and I found out it was in the laundry hamper, and I pulled it out, and it was kind of, I don't know, it smelled pretty bad from I don't know, it got mixed in with something else, I guess, and I just went to bed instead.
Well, I guess sometimes you can't make it. Was it like one of those training videos
Training videos?
like that you were trying to make early in the morning that you had to wear that nice shirt for? Was it like what? I'm trying to figure out why you'd have to wake up so early in the morning.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I just woke up early in the morning because I went to sleep so early.
Oh, I thought you
Yeah,
were trying to make some kind of a early morning meeting.
I was trying to make a 6:30 p.m. meeting yesterday.
Oh.
I was so proud. So I was ready to go. I took a shower. I got everything. And then all I needed was my shirt. And then I found out my shirt was like, not yet washed
Right,
in the
right.
washing machine.
Oh, okay. No,
And it was contacting. I don't know. Smell. I got toddlers, all right, and it didn't. My shirt didn't smell right, and yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sleep.
yeah, no,
So I
no.
had a super productive morning.
I had it backwards. I thought you were trying to wake up early to get something, and that shirt was uh dirty. And I was thinking, well, if you got something so early in the morning, I mean, if it's online, doesn't matter if you're.
Right. No,
It
yeah,
smells
and
bad.
it was optional.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it was optional. It's fine. But how you doing?
Good. Taxes all finished up.
Yeah.
Should be good. Got the I reason I'm late is because I went to go see the new Harry Potter or Fantastic Beasts movie.
Great.
Started at 11:30. I went with
Fantastic Beast.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I went with
Yeah.
my father-in-law. He's a movie buff. He loves
Oh.
movies, and he's an extra. So like they have lots of. I mean, out here it's a lot more plentiful, right? Acting gigs as being an extra. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember in Hawaii we'd have those like when Hawaii 5 was filming, and I think is there like a Magnum PI or something filming in
Yep.
Hawaii?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, out here we have like he just recently got paid to do like a Walking Dead zombie voiceover. and then he does he's on there's this new program on HBO Max coming out, I think sometime later this year, called Love and Death. It's based on
Okay.
a true story. It stars Elizabeth Olsen from the Scarlet Witch, the Marvel movies.
Okay.
Um, and he's in like a lot of the episodes. It's like an extra, he just walks around, and for every time they make him drive down and be there to be an extra, he gets paid $100. So it's not a bad gig to just kind of be around and available for 8 hours. You just
And you get free food too, right?
right.
Yeah.
They feed you breakfast, lunch, and if they make you stay later, they pay you time and a half, and then they'll pay you. Oh, they'll feed you dinner too. So it's not a bad deal. He does it about
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a week. So he has his regular day job, which is an overnight job. He's a lab technician at the hospital, and then the days that he's not working, he goes and he does these things, and he loves it.
Cool.
I mean, I guess it's pretty awesome. I mean, he gets to work with like I don't know if you saw Supernatural, the guy who plays Sam. He's the new Walker Texas Ranger. They redid Walker Texas Ranger, and it films out here in Austin, and he drives down to Austin to be on that. I mean, it sounds like a really relaxing job. I mean, you just show up, you get paid $100. He's part of the union, the Actors Guild or whatever it's called. So he's got like
Yeah.
membership
I want
or
to do
whatever.
that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I would consider doing it. It's just that you got to be gone for like the whole day. So maybe and then
Get it?
when the kids are out of college,
Yeah, exactly. Funny.
have some free time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how's everything with you? Is it going well? You got any new updates on real estate? I remember we were gonna talk about something last week, but I wasn't able to make it
Sure.
because of the taxes. Yeah, we were going to talk about
Oh,
something
yeah.
about real estate.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, well, I should have brought some statistics, or we could look at some trends and stuff like that.
Hang on, just quickly.
Okay.
Do you think the trend is your friend, or are you a contrarian?
With what in general?
In general.
Oh, sorry. I know they're at odds with. I know you're. They are at odds with each other. I mean.
Well, I mean, it
maybe in terms of time frame. Yes and no.
Just in term of like, in general, if the 51% of people say this, are you more likely to agree with them or disagree with them, regardless of investing or stocks or whatever? Because the guys I watch, the Tasty Trade folks, they're like, wow, if everyone likes it, I don't like it. That's their take. That's like, they don't even need to know what it is. They're like, if more than half of the people like it, I don't like it. Like, that doesn't sound like something that, this is like morals or something, right? Like, if it's just like a general like thing that can be subjective, like if it's a truly subjective matter that has no like moral implications, then they take the opposite side. That's how they make their decisions. Like, when it comes to trading.
I think it does extend beyond that also to moral things. And we can probably think of examples for and against where popular opinion is.
Right.
Well, it's subjective, right? Because morals are subjective. But,
unfortunately,
I was appalled to hear that, Matt, I think that it's about 1 out of 40 children who are tested for exposure to lead are positive for unhealthy levels of lead in their bloodstream. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Quite a bit.
So the Environmental Protection Agency requires that in transactions of real estate, both sales and rental, that what do you call that? It's the lead paint disclosure. There's another title on that same form, but it's created by the Environmental Protection Agency. Mm-hmm. And Part of it that the agents have to initial is that they've uh, informed their clients, who would be the sellers or the landlord, of their sort of rights and obligations kind of thing under the applicable law, right? It's the EPA thing. And I was told that nobody actually does that.
So it's one of the things that like you have to disclose, but it's not really disclosed in the extent or in the manner at which it's supposed to be? Or does just nobody even care, like regulatory wise?
So there's some, since I'm talking about it now on tape, I wish I had the USB code or whatever in front of me to tell you what statute it is or whatever. And I couldn't give you all the details of it, but if say a seller decided to, and I'm not a lawyer, right?
Right.
But if a seller, it goes something like this, that there are, if you cause harm to somebody by not properly disclosing, about this whole lead paint thing in the house that you have, right, and that you're selling or renting to someone else, the civil liabilities are triple the actual damages.
Wow.
And I mean, you can, there's better summaries of this. What I'm saying is that you could just print out a one-page summary of this and give it to your client or read it out loud to them, and then in all honesty, sign off and explain to them, there's a multiple agencies that can impose various forms of recourse against you for making false disclosures. As I said, 1 out of 40 children that are tested for lead paint come out positive, right? So it's imperative that people understand there are increased penalties for violating this trust, right, in terms of these disclosures. So that's all. And so that one blows me away. I don't know if it's true or not, if that person was just saying that and that's not really true, but it kind of blows my mind, right? Because that's a popular opinion, is that doesn't matter, and that everybody just paints over lead paint anyway with latex paint, so whatever.
So example would be like if I had a house that had lead paint in it and I decided to sell it to somebody and that person is harmed, the buyer, then the seller is now liable for 3 times the punitive damages of the lead poisoning, or of whatever damages the lead poison had put to my buyer. Is that kind of like what the law says? And I mean, I know we're summarizing it. Neither of us are attorneys, but interpretive wise, that's kind of what it's meant to do. Not what that does.
One of the bad things that's one of the bad things that could happen.
Okay.
To someone who did that.
One of the worst case scenarios would be something like that.
Yeah.
And is there any kind of insurance that you could buy to protect against that type of liability?
Fraud
insurance?
I don't know. Is there fraud insurance?
No, I mean,
the
like,
insurance person.
Well,
I don't think you can insure yourself against fraudulent claims.
Like,
can you?
No, you can't. Like, wow. I was thinking about insurance to provide protection against lead paint poisoning.
Hey, if you didn't know there was lead paint, then you didn't know, right? But if you did know that there was lead paint or something like that, if you had it tested and you have results from that and you're withholding it because you think it's going to hurt your sale, I don't think that's okay. And in fact, the EPA says that's not okay. That's why they require us to make these disclosures, and then they require the agents like me to sign off that we impressed upon them the gravity of the situation in terms of that they need to be completely honest in making these disclosures because of these kind of enhanced penalties. There are, I mean, all you'd have to do is say there are some pretty heavy enhanced penalties in particular for this form. It needs to be filled out in complete honesty. And then you could sign, you know what I mean? That's all you'd have to do. But apparently most agents don't do that, according to some people.
They don't have it filled out, or they don't disclose?
They just sign off on it, but they never have that conversation with their client.
I see.
And 1 out of 40 kids is like carrying lead around. So, you know, I don't know. I've heard, you know, it doesn't matter. The same person was saying, well, it doesn't matter because you just paint over lead paint. But somehow, you know, quite a few kids have lead paint in their blood. So I don't know, maybe it's not from the paint. Maybe they're getting lead from somewhere else. I'm not a epidemiologist or whatever,
right.
you know.
We don't know where it's coming from.
But 1 out of 40 is a lot.
Well, what I'm thinking is, I mean, this is gonna sound terrible, but
go for it.
Like for somebody to go and prosecute the seller of a home that had lead paint on it, go through all of that legalese, whatever, and then provide all the backing. Because right now, like you can't quantify the gravity of said poisoning, right? Like this 1 out of 40 children who are running out of lead paint. Like, what are the like quantifiable things? You know, like
you know, I'm not an expert. I'm no doctor here, but brain damage seems to be one of those things, right?
So that's where I'm going with that. Like, quantifiably, how much is that? Because there's a cost for everything, right? Like, insurance companies have this wonderful wonderful chart. It says if you lose a limb, pay you $50,000. If you lose your dominant hand, we'll pay you $100,000, right? So, like, what are the costs in relation to that, and then the risk of getting charged with that? And that's possibly, like I said, sound horrible, but that probably is why things like this happen, because the risk of it happening is 2.5%. That's pretty high, right? 1 out of 40. That's 2.5%, something like that, right?
Something about there. It's more than two, right?
Yeah, more than 2.
2.2
so if you have,
or something.
If you sell a home, if you sell 50 homes, potentially at least 1 out of those 50 homes could have lead in it, based on the statistics of family homes that you sell, right?
They stopped producing lead paint for residential use or whatever for the most part in the 1970s. So the requirement is only, I believe the year is 1978. I'm not a numbers guy, so I look it up every time. But I think the number is 1978. So yeah, I mean, I qualify that with the fact that they're all homes of that age, right?
Right. So if you're selling practically anything in like Central Oahu, or Kauai, no, not Kauai anymore. After Iniki hit, that was in the 90s. So a lot of those.
I don't know about Kauai. Yeah.
So I mean, theoretically speaking, a realtor who was heavy selling in the 80s, 90s, 2000s in the Kalihi, Wahewa, Old Mililani, Waipahu areas, Waianae, potentially could have sold at least one of these homes that had one of these lead paint that could have come up and could have harmed said children.
All the time. They're being sold all the time. And all we're being asked is to, point out to them and then sign.
Yeah.
Sign off on it, right? And it's
but
like,
seller.
You just sign it. I was like, somebody said, they just sign it.
They just sign it,
like,
and
just
move
the
on.
agent doesn't even sign it and doesn't. Yeah, just move on.
And move on.
Get through the transaction.
Yeah, because
I don't know. I don't think that's true. I think it can't be true. Most agents must do it because why would they be so? Why would they do that?
In all honesty, most likely the seller is gonna look and say, if they're a like-minded person like you, who
Yeah.
really want to get, you know, dot all their I's, cross their T's, check every box. They're gonna be like, so what do we do to make sure that this doesn't happen, right? Because is
Right.
it A, can we just say I've never done the test, so I have no way to know if my house has paint, and I have no way to fund said study for my home, but I do need to sell my house. Is that acceptable?
They don't need to do a study. You don't need to do a study of your house. If you don't know, just say you don't know. But if you know, you got to say you know.
That's all.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. So it
Yeah,
becomes
So it's easy. If
an
you don't
intent.
know, you don't know. Right. But if you, when you bought the place, you did the test and then it had the lead and then you know that and you remember it, you've got a record of it and other people have a record of that too. And then you go lying about it, you know,
Okay,
there's a potential for them to throw the book at you apparently because, you know, there's this legislation outlining some pretty
pretty harsh words.
serious consequences.
Right.
Yeah, some pretty hard. Yeah, you can look it up, but
Yeah, so then,
you
then
know.
I think in that case, for sure, agents, sellers should do their utmost to notify. And I guess even if it does hurt the home value, as an agent who is working in the best interest of their client, should say that, you know, this is something that we need to
Exactly.
disclose, and
Exactly.
if you want to fix it, you know, this is
Right.
something you can build into said agreement with the seller, with the buyer. Maybe you can say, you know,
Right.
I don't know how much lead paint stripping and whatever costs, but maybe you can say we'll build that into the closing costs because this is fair value of my home minus the lead paint, but we can rectify the lead paint problem, give you a new fresh set coat of paint, make sure
Whatever
it's
it
lead proof,
is.
and then boom, that we just build
Or-
that in it.
Or just those buyers' right to know.
Right.
Right? Forget the money, just like knowing that it's
Yeah.
there so that at the very least they could take the precautions needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really sad. And so in that sense, if that were to be true, that most people in my position do not inform their sellers, then I'm a contrarian.
Right. Right.
And I think that is on moral grounds. So I'm sorry to bicker with you about, you know, how you were qualifying that question, but I think it is included.
Yeah. No. It
How about
definitely can be. I mean, lots of agents where I work in my field don't tell anybody anything really about what they're buying. They just say, "You want this one?" And the problem with, so I was going to talk about that a little bit, about how we're not attorneys, right? So
Absolutely not.
as an agent for whatever, we work in the best interest of, unfortunately, where does your first level of liability or responsibility lie? Usually it's with the broker, right? It's usually with the upline. While we have a signed agreement to help our client, our first like principle, like where we have all the protections supposed to be, is with the company.
Now you're speaking as an
agent.
What kind of agent?
As a sales agent.
Any kind of agent?
For the general purposes of this conversation, we'll call them sales representatives. So we represent.
Yeah, so I don't know, because I'm an agent too, and that does sound similar to me. I'm not sure where the distinctions lie, but yes, the principal broker is the one who has that agency relationship with the client. And as an agent, it's confusing because of the redundancy of this language having kind of two different meanings. As an agent myself, I serve under my principal broker to serve the fiduciary responsibility that they have to the client. And so I have that fiduciary responsibility too, but I'm not actually I don't want to say legal, but by that kind of larger definition, the agent is the broker of the client, right?
Yeah. So for in my line of work, when we represent an insurance product, we are now we now have to make sure the product is in the best interest of our client, right? Due to whatever quantitative and qualitative metrics that we use. But then when it comes to like representing the actual product, we're legally now not supposed to talk bad about other products. Oop, market closed. And we are not supposed to talk bad about the product that we are representing legally. We can't say this bad stuff can happen, this bad stuff can happen. We can run through scenarios, but we cannot say, oh no, this is, even if it's factually correct, we're not supposed to speak ill of said things or said company, which is ridiculous if you ask me. But that's like part of this like 80-page agreement that we have. We're supposed to, and they phrase it very eloquently, right? You're supposed to speak well, represent well, this company that we are. So it could be left to interpretation. And as an agent who doesn't have like, $1 billion to go legally against somebody, like insurance companies would, you have to tread lightly. Is that the right word? Tread lightly. Because if they find out you are speaking ill of them and their product, they could deploy their massive legal team and say, well, this agent is not representing the company to which we hold him accountable for, even though I could be telling facts. I just didn't represent them well. And who's to say, right? It's going to be up to an arbiter. The arbiter is going to say, well, legally, I mean, if you sign this, it says you have to represent this company well, which does not mean you can talk ill of their products, even though their products don't work well. You can't say that, right? So that's why I find it really difficult as a sales representative for many insurance companies when a lot of what we say, it's doing our job, but how many jobs are we juggling at this one moment, right? Like when I was helping a client just recently doing dental insurance, I will just tell them, this dental company, they have been having some issues with this particular office that you see. So I would suggest you not go with them. I would suggest finding another insurance company, talk to your dentist and find out which insurance company they like working with so that we can find a plan that said insurance company has that you can enroll in so that it works well with your dentist. What I said sounds completely reasonable, right? I mean, does that make sense? But if the dentist,
I hear what you're saying. You violated your contract by saying that.
Right. And if the dentist tells the patient what to buy, that is called steering, which is also illegal. So
the dentist cannot?
No. They might not know that they cannot, but they cannot. It's called steering.
But they can inform them about the
Which
coverages of the different. Yeah, right.
But like I said, the plan that I was talking to the client about, the dentist office shows on their website and their people, billing people, say that they accept it. But this particular insurance company is very difficult to work with for whatever reason. It could be that their claims process is longer or they, for whatever reason.
Businesses have different
processes to get things done.
Right. Yeah.
And therefore, this dental office would rather not take clients who have this. And if said client can choose a different one, that would be more better for the dental office. Would be more better for the patient too, because all of these steps can be undertaken by the patient too. The patient could file a claim on their own and run into said problems. So as an agent, you would think that would be part of my responsibility. But as a sales agent who does sales, it is not. My authority ends when their plan begins. Now it is not me, but it is the claims billing department of whatever insurance plan they enrolled in. My job was just to enroll them. The operations and how the plan works, well, I can explain to them how the general process works. I no control, no knowledge, no nothing about how said plan works, because that's not my job.
So
And
then how do you, sorry to interrupt you, but like
no,
then I'm really interested to hear, how do you navigate? Is it a matter of balancing things,
so
or I mean, what how that
how
sounds
do
like
I
a real
morally
moral
navigate?
that is a moral dilemma, right? How do most people do it? And are you
Well,
counter trend?
yes.
Are you, no, I'm
So
sorry, that's the wrong term. What's the investing term now? Contrarian.
contrarian. So as someone who, I mean, so another good thing about being a contrarian, or just being counter trend in an industry, in a sales industry, is that you can be different, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of agents, what they will do is they will do exactly what I said. They will represent the product for what the product is, regardless of whether or not it works. So I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
Let's say the product offers you free dental cleanings every 2 years. They give you, I don't know, 10 massages every year and acupuncture. And you're like, wow, that's a
Hmm.
great benefit, right? And then I say, yeah, this is the plan. This is the summary benefits. Those are all the things it includes. Would you like to sign up? And they say, yeah, I'd like to enroll in that plan for 2023, let's say. And boom, you're
Yeah.
done. That is what most agents who do Medicare insurance do. That's it. And it can be very successful, because if you can imagine that that sales process usually takes about 15 to 30 minutes and is done over a seminar in some massive gymnasium or some huge conference room. What I have to do, and what I normally would do for most of the people who talk to me, is I will educate them on everything that they can do on Medicare, whether that be enroll in a private plan, stay on the general program, etc. Right? And I speak to all the problems that Medicare has as far as coverage limitations. And this is all, so the way I make it not about a company is I don't talk about any company. I just talk about the broad term of medical insurance, not picking on ABC insurance company, XYZ insurance company. I'm just saying in general, all of these companies have said problems, and whatever it is. But I will also educate them on simpler ways to get things done, so that if they ever have any issues, they can go to the Medicare. I provide lots of resources, lots of studies, so that they can be as informed as they need to be, at least in my, I guess, educators feel that they know enough to be able to take care of what they need to. Because honestly, when it comes to medical, and this might be different because the medical field has a lot more barriers, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to call up and say, why can't my patient get this service done?
Right.
I'm blocked, completely blocked. That HIPAA blocks
You're not a
everything.
part of that
I can't
process.
see. Yeah, I can't see or do and touch any of that. And it's great that I can't, right? Because I'm not a medical
Right.
professional. I'm not a legal person. I'm not in the billing insurance or billing.
Right.
So I'm
Leave it
completely
up to the
removed.
experts.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, if those things don't work, then my insurance plan that I sold them ain't gonna work either. So you're
Right.
kind of stuck in that like problem area. So what I do, like I said, is I educate. I give them the practical
Tools.
ways to get things done.
Yeah.
And then from there, I say, these are the things that you can choose, right? We went over the pros and cons of enrolling in plans, what the roadblocks can be when you enroll in plans, what things they could throw at you to prevent paying for services, what you need to make sure you do so that services are paid for. And then, that's all you can do. And you just equip them, and you say, okay, well, there are certain, I'll do this, especially for this year, because I've had a whole lot of complaints with a certain company. I say, a lot of my clients have been telling me that said company has really poor customer service, and they've been on hold for longer than what they've expected, 30 minutes to an hour, and they don't really like that. I I personally have not experienced these problems, but I'm telling you from the collective of my clients that this is going on. The plan is still there. If you like what you see and you're okay with this little warning, then enroll. It's not up to me, it's up to you. But I will preface that by saying a lot of my clients have been having a lot of issues with said company. And
You can say that?
I'm not supposed to, but anecdotally from
Okay.
my clients, this is what my clients are telling me. And
Yeah.
I feel like it is in my one of the values of my job is
Mhm.
having multiple people to pull experiences from. And I'm like a collective of their problems, what solutions that they've come up with. So it's like, the power of 300 people in one person, because all the problems that they've had, now I've dealt with through them. I can tell clients ways to avoid certain things. Now that's one of the major problems I see is customer service is terrible. And I'll let them know there's a certain company that has better customers. I mean, customer service is something that should be ranked. I mean, you can go online and look and see if the customer service of said company is good or
Yeah,
bad.
that's what I was gonna say as well. If you can't make a comment yourself, perhaps you can point them to customer review sites or something.
Yeah,
that
and
would give them
the
from the
only
horse's mouth kind of thing.
from more people who are more public about their opinions.
Yeah, and who don't have any type of interest or
Financial,
obligation
right.
toward fairness between these
I
different
mean,
companies.
Medicare does a good job because they pay you the same comp no matter what company your
Mhm.
client chooses. So it does help in that matter where there is no like, well, if company XYZ pays me 300, company ABC pays me 400, I'm going to push as many people to 400. ABC company pays me more money than the $300 company, right? Fortunately, they don't have. I don't have to worry or deal with that. Kind of
Right.
mental fiasco in my head. All the companies pay me the same, so whatever.
Mhm.
But it does
That's good.
hurt. It Here's the thing that I don't understand. Like for you as an agent, you can if you said you're more of a seller's agent, though, right?
Well, I can represent either side of a
Both.
transaction. I prefer not to represent both sides of a transaction.
Yeah, I can feel that'd be kind of difficult.
On an associate level, right? I
Right.
mean, it could be
Because
possible that my client would want to buy a property from, you know, a
another
different
company.
agent's listing at my brokerage or vice versa or whatever at the same company. But so I'm digressing. But yeah, I'm actually specializing mainly in representing sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to represent buyers anytime too, but I mean,
Right.
my focus is on that lately in terms of the types of credentials that I'm building.
Right. And you see it's kind of like a specialization that you're going to. But for
Yeah, well, it works for both sides. I feel
right,
like,
right, of course.
like my dad was he went to art school
Mm-hmm.
and he majored in sculpture, and they told them, you can choose to sculpt in stone or wood.
Uh-huh.
If you learn stone, you can do wood, but if you learn wood, you're just gonna be stuck doing wood. I feel like that there's most agents start out as buyers representatives, and that's what they pursue
Mm-hmm.
initially. However, for me, I feel like at this
You're gonna
point,
take
I'm
the
not exactly
contrarian
a
route.
brand new agent anymore, and I feel like the understanding the specific needs of the sellers, especially nowadays that we're in a strong sellers market,
Mm-hmm.
is also beneficial when representing buyers
Okay,
because you
so
understand what the seller needs.
that
Right?
makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I
Right
mean,
now, buyers are at the mercy of the sellers.
it's kind of interesting because in the land of real estate, you can be both sides of the coin. Like
Yes.
in trading, for example, in trading, especially with options and even stocks, there's a buyer and a seller, right? Someone is trading in cash to buy shares, someone is trading in shares to buy cash, right? Basically what it is. And the joy of the free market and the stock market is you can choose either side. There's no,
Mhm.
I mean, you can't say that they got a better deal. You can't, because you can always flip it around and say, no, if you want to buy it, I'll sell it. If you want to short that, if you want to short this, I'll sell it to you, because I think it's overvalued already. So I'll sell it to you. You can buy it for me. You can do that in the stock market. Whereas in like Walmart, I wouldn't be able to be like, you know what? I think your avocados are overpriced, so I'm gonna short it. You can't do that at Walmart, right? You can't be like,
No, well,
maybe,
people do retail arbitrage on that scale, right? They'll buy off
but they're
one
always
website
buying,
and sell on a different one, or,
right?
or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Seems like a
like
hard
on
line of work.
Amazon or something, right? Like when they
Yeah.
buy from China and they repackage it and sell it in America or something, right? That's
I mean, I see a
wholesaling
lot of
though.
stuff on Amazon that's more expensive, and you could get it from Walmart and put it on
Yeah,
Amazon, right?
right.
That kind of thing. But
That's more like
not
wholesaling.
to bicker. But you mentioned earlier though about the term steering, and so
Right.
that one caught me. What was the definition again in the insurance industry? Steering is when the provider points them in the direction of a particular insurance
Insurance plan.
carrier.
Yeah.
Plan.
Yep.
I see. Of course, you're familiar with the term steering in real estate.
No, is it not the same?
No, it isn't. It has to do with fair housing. So it's not about choosing which, favoring. Excuse me. It's not about favoring a particular company. It's about favoring a particular group that's protected, right? Whether it's race or familial status or
Oh,
there's a short list there, right? You know what the fair housing kind of stuff is that
yeah.
normal thing, that stuff that we do not discriminate against people for,
Right.
right? And in Hawaii in particular, and I beg your pardon because I know you're the native Hawaiian, not me, and it is, I think colonization / decolonization are a huge issue, right? And I would acknowledge it. And there are some kind of issues specific to Hawaii, maybe in other places too, where there is, I feel like, a sort of moral dilemma in terms of fair housing. Okay, take for example, someone's moving to Hawaii. They've never been here, but they have the money or whatever. They've got the loan approval. They're gonna do it. They want to get a good deal, so they buy a place out in Waianae on Farrington Highway. I don't know, by the police station or whatever over there. As an agent, are you going to communicate to them that their sort of place of origin or race? We're going to assume that they're a Caucasian or whatever we would call haole, right? Are you going to tell them? Well, we're recording this right now, so I need to be careful about what I even say. Just commenting on it, because someone could, right? I would. My choice has been, well, let them buy it, right? I'm not going to. Yeah, I mean, I will talk with them about. There's interesting videos where people are discussing it on YouTube. So I link to those kind of things where, other real estate agents too, who are from Waianae, are talking about their opinion about that, which I think is more authentic because they're from the place, right?
Right. So that's where it makes me far more comfortable with the limitations of my job, because I know that as a real estate agent, I think you mentioned this to me before, you can't tell me like those types of things, those nuanced things. Like I wouldn't be able to ask you, so how's the school district in this area? What kind of kids go there? You'd have to point me to like the census.
Yeah, there's some really good websites all about schools,
right. So I wouldn't be able to get I wouldn't be able to get any kind of a summary or a narrative from you based on your job, right? Like the descriptions of what you can and cannot tell me, you wouldn't be able to tell me in your opinion if it's good enough, because that's a professional
Yeah.
opinion.
I can tell you what rankings that they get
Right.
on
Right.
these sort of
And
things.
that's the same thing I can do with the insurance plans. I can tell you, hey, this one's a 5-star, this one's a 4-star. Which one do you think is better, right? And I'll be honest right on here. Not all 5-star plans provide the 5-star service that you think, because Medicare rates them on very different things. It's not all customer service. It's a whole algorithm of things, and 80% of those things are surveys that the doctors provide, which is why a lot of HMOs like Kaiser have 5-star plans, because when your insurance company owns the providers and 80% of the survey score is based on the providers, you're obviously going to get a really good rated plan. Your employees are filling out the surveys. So it's kind of like that, where the nuances are so valuable. Because I don't know about you, and we can I don't represent Kaiser, so I'm not supposed to throw them under the bus, but I've had very, very poor client anecdotes about Kaiser, and Kaiser's a 5-star rated plan. So in essence, if you were to go by websites such as Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, you would find that Kaiser.
I don't agree. You don't agree with the ratings.
Plan.
Yeah. Right. So then, do you curate that in a way that is subjective? Right. I don't know. Right. I don't know.
So that's why for what you were saying about the whole steering thing, like I would be pretty pissed if, being someone from, let's just say I'm someone from, gosh, I'm going to sound so country. Let's say you grew up in New York, right? You're in New York, in the city. You're like, man, I can get a place on the beach in Waianae on Oahu for $1 million. That's half the price of my $2 million studio. I'm going to move to Waianae. I land in Waianae. Do you think I'd be really happy with my purchase, or upset at my agent who told me that this is blue skies all day, beachfront view, Hawaii lifestyle?
Can I qualify it for a second and just say that, people just tell a lot of things, and I'm sure there's a lot of truth to it, but in my own experience, people have been very kind to me. I can't think of a time someone has come up to me in Waianae, like on that coast, and like directly like threaten me in any kind of way. So I don't even want to reproduce that kind of stereotype.
Right.
At the same time, since that stereotype is so prevalent, there may be some truth to this idea that certain places in Hawaii have a stronger sentiment against the colonizing race.
Yeah.
And that it may be prudent in terms of their safety to not attempt to integrate with that community. I have such mixed feelings about that.
And
I tell them, go for it.
I would agree with you 100%. If that person from New York landed there and then he just took, or she just took 1 minute to think about this as a experience, right? Forget whatever they can think about, like, well, these, natives or whatever they say, and just say, you know what? We are just people. And
you know what sorry, go ahead. Sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's kind of how I took it when I moved down or up, whatever, to Texas. Like, we're all just people, right? No one, well, yes, there are people here who carry around guns. So what?
Mm-hmm.
They're just people with guns. People could kill you with knives that they can carry around in Hawaii. People can kill you with their car. They could literally, if they wanted to, when you cross the street, press on the gas and kill you, right? A gun in their hand isn't going to make that big of a difference. So why even give it any ounce of thought? And that's kind of what I thought when I moved here. I mean, look at me. I don't look Howley. I don't look Caucasian. Some people think I'm Mexican, which I'm not Mexican. I'm Filipino,
Right.
Japanese, Hawaiian, and Portuguese, which is European. So I have some European, like about a quarter. So I'm all mixed up all of them. No one knows what I am, but that's fine. I don't care. I don't give it like, people are like, Matt, you should be wearing like a bulletproof vest up there. I'm like, no. If I did that, that'd be just giving into like all this, stuff that I don't think
Just
matters.
the vest, not the gun.
Yeah. I mean,
nah.
and we still don't have a firearm. We don't plan on getting any firearms because to me, I don't think I don't think it's necessary. And I think people who have it, great that they grew up with it. It's kind of like having a machete or like a knife or a samurai sword if you're Japanese. That's fine. That's your heritage. That's fine. Americans have guns. That's their heritage.
And then,
that's fine.
If I was like in some busy intersection and some guy pulled out a gun and then someone else carrying a gun, like, shot them to prevent some kind of like fucking part of my language with some kind of massacre, then I would be thankful.
Yeah, he'd be happy.
I would. I'm for the Second Amendment.
Literally.
But I'm the same way. I'm not carrying a gun.
Yeah, literally down the street, but a street over, someone was robbing. Someone tried to hijack a car. They hijacked the wrong car. I mean, the guy had a gun, and the carjacker, he shot him in the leg.
Right. Wow.
So
that's a good thing, I guess. Right.
I mean, it prevented the carjacking. The guy shouldn't have been carjacking in the first place. Right.
Yeah.
So and
just get insurance and not have to shoot anybody, right?
I mean, if he pulled it out and then the guy was like taunting him, maybe then it was a good thing he did shoot him, because then if not, now this guy's gonna have a new lease on, like, no one's gonna use the gun.
Yeah. But I wonder if you can't. I don't think that works in Hawaii though. I don't think you can shoot anybody for stealing your car. I think you gotta let them steal your car.
No, I don't think so. I think there's probably a line there, but
you could probably wrestle them.
Yeah,
I think you could wrestle them though.
Yeah, see, and that's the weird part, right? Like, I don't know if they're carjacking, if they're trying to steal my car, and like I accidentally like push them into the street, and then they get hit by another car. Like,
hey,
I don't know what.
I used to be an English teacher, right? And I had this student. Oh, he was in his 40s. He was from Korea. He lived up somewhere right off Keaumoku or whatever, that Holiday Mart area, right? And
Holiday Mart.
He was on the news one day, and then he was showing me. He was sitting in my class because I used to teach adults how to speak English, right? And so he's in an elevator in his building in that area, and somebody behind him pulls on Spider-Man mask and pulls out a gun, and it's all on camera. It was on the news. Pulls out a gun and tells him, "Give me your money," or whatever, And this guy is so crazy, man. I would never do this. My student, this Korean man, just starts unloading and just punching this guy right in his face, and again right in the Spider-Man mask, like,
oh man.
And then the elevator door opens, the guy goes running. He's got his gun with him still, but he's like running the other direction. Kind of a funny story. I don't know if it has anything to do with that.
No, but did the Korean man get prosecuted? Like, was there any
prosecuted? No, he was punching someone who was holding him up at gunpoint.
Right. And that's my whole thing. I'm just wondering if if that guy with the gun for whatever reason decided to go to the police and turn in the guy for beating him up, would that guy, the gunman, have a case?
Not at all.
Okay.
He's under threat of immediate death or something with the gun.
Yeah. Right. I would hope so. And that's where I'm.
Oh yeah, I'm not a lawyer, but jeepers, no way.
Yeah. You would think, right?
Fine.
That.
He was like a hero.
I would hope that the judicial system would reward people for sticking up for themselves against people who want to threaten their life.
Well, I mean, if he was just thinking about himself, he would just reach in his wallet and give him the money.
right?
Yeah.
Because your money's whatever, however much money he's got in his pocket is not worth his life, not even minuscule.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what he did for the community,
That I
that's
agree.
what it is. What he did
I
for the
agree there.
community by standing up for himself.
100%.
That's really, I would just give him the money and let the person go.
Right. Because, I mean, in your head, you're probably thinking, man, if this guy kills me, you know, you got a family, you know,
Right?
it's just not worth it to even go into this. You just listen, comply, and hopefully he leaves you alone.
Oh, so Matt, you know, we're talking about steering
Mhm.
and, you know, sort of Hawaii and steering. I guess that's what's been on my mind recently with real estate. You know, there's another facet to what I'm talking about, right? Aside from just worrying about, you know, yeah, Kill Holiday died a long time ago anyway, right? How about the other side? How about the other side of this, right? The part about, and you know who's been articulating this is Brenton Ava. He went to Kahuku High School too. He's in the same class as me. And he was a news anchor. He left that job and now he's running for political office on the North Shore, the east side North Shore. So you see his signs all over the street now as you drive between Kahalu and whatever, Sunset Beach and North Shore side, yeah? So I don't have all the details of it, but I could see he's kind of making a stance against people selling their property to the highest bidder and sort of changing the community in that way, right? Where locals can't afford to buy homes, kind of thing. But how would you weigh in on another moral dilemma like that? Right, where on the one hand, it's in the seller's best interest to sell to the highest bidder, yet on the other hand, there's this sort of erosion of the community due to prices, you know, homes being sold to the highest bidder.
I guess, I mean, I'm a product of this, right? Like we moved out. One of the reasons, we have many reasons. We just move out here because it was cheaper. But one of the deciding factors was out here in Texas, you can get a lot less or a lot more for a lot less, right? I don't need to spend, like if I had $1 million to buy my single family home on Oahu in wherever, I could spend that 350,000 here to get the same house with a bigger plot of land, and the savings would be enough to offset the taxes because out in Texas property taxes are a little higher. So I would be living in a better place, or a better home, a bigger lot, and the financial offset of taxes, because that was my main thing about moving out here, is the tax rate on property is like 3% versus in Hawaii is like less than 1%, right? So there's a shift. And I moved because it made sense at the time. I think people, again, this is going to be very controversial, I'm sorry, but people are going to have to make the decision whether or not it's worth it, like quantifying this qualitative kind of thing, this community. I was born in Hawaii. I was born on Kauai. I grew up in Pupukea, Haleiwa. That's pretty local. We moved to Wahiawa, which is also pretty
you grew
local.
up in Pupukea too?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Up the hill by Foodland. My grandparents had an acre lot up in Pupukea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lived on Pukea Road.
We could see
as a teenager
the ocean from their house. Across the street from their house was a horse ranch.
Oh, wow.
Super local, right? Yeah. And we left. You know, well, I mean, my mom's still there, but me and my wife and her 2 kids, our kids, we left. We moved to Texas, and it was just, we decided that if we are going to buy our own house and start really saving towards retirement, we can't afford paying, $2,500 a month in rent. We're gonna have to save that, get a cheaper rental here, save up money to get a down payment, which we could actually then afford said down payment for a house, right? So that's kind of what we decided to do. And I think a lot of people who are living in Hawaii, they're gonna just have to make that decision, because I mean, it's gonna go to the highest bid, and you can't expect someone who made a good investment, who bought that property in wherever on the island of Oahu or whatever island they bought it at, and then get that appreciation and then take a cut of what the market value is in order to facilitate this community that they're leaving for whatever reason it is. It could be the kids, selling the parents' house or whatever. But it just you can't
Right.
you can't live like that.
How do you,
As much as
and
we
then
want,
even if they did, how do you rectify it, right? What if there's somebody else and they're, what if
Right.
they're black and they're offering twice as much? And you're saying,
Right.
well, I want to give this to my
Right.
community.
Yeah, and you're
You
like, well, that's
can,
racist.
I guess you could, if you don't have a realtor involved and you're just doing it yourself, I'm not going to comment about whether or not you could. Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. I don't know. Ask,
I mean,
I don't know, call up the lawyer for KKK or something and pick their
Yeah.
brain, but I'm sure you could
Right.
figure out how to do that if you really wanted to. But if you want, right, there's this kind of weird conflict with fair housing and like the rights of a community to retain its
I mean,
character, right?
Is that like, I mean, I know, for example, there are places in other countries where you cannot buy land. Japan, if you're not a national citizen, if you have Japanese citizenship, you're born Japanese, can't
Right.
own land. And that's what their country has done. Our country is very different. America is the land of the free. As long as you have the work ethic to work and make money and use that money, you can buy property, which is a very defining kind of country's milestone, right? If your residents can buy their own property and own a piece of land, that makes your country a little bit more, I guess, capitalistic and future seeing.
Right,
Now it's not like
right.
you renting the property and you give it back to the country when you're done. It's yours. Your kids can do whatever they want with it. It is no longer property of the state or the government. It is your property of the citizen. And
but then what if it's real estate trusts and other kinds of like corporate entities coming through and
that's still
making
part
those
of that
purchases
whole
and inflating the market
capitalism
so
thing,
that
right?
Yeah. Hey, Matt, I'm a little bit out of time now because I've got
Yeah, we
another
are.
meeting to run into, but let's pick this up next week
Don't forget,
if you have time.
we do. I like this
Yeah.
conversation. Let's go with it. And I'll see you in the next
Excellent.
video.
Thanks, Matt.
Sam.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.